This is not a story about crime. This is not a story about politics. This is a story about control. Who is really running Karachi? Karachi is Pakistan's largest city, its financial backbone, its primary tax generator. Yet its administrative structure reveals a fundamental disconnect between the city and those who control it. Senior bureaucratic positions, commissioners, deputy commissioners, secretaries, and departmental heads are appointed through provincial mechanisms that do not require Karachi domicile, Karachi residency, or long-term engagement with the city. There is no publicly available breakdown showing how many of these officials are from Karachi. No establishment division report. No provincial disclosure. No parliamentary answer that quantifies the balance between local and non-local authority. This absence is not accidental. It shields power from scrutiny. In practical terms, this means that decisions affecting Karachi's water supply, land use, sanitation contracts, urban planning, and emergency coordination are routinely made by officials whose professional futures do not depend on Karachi's outcomes. Accountability travels upward, not outward, to provincial centers, not city residents. This structure creates a governance model where failure carries no local consequence. When services collapse, officials rotate out. When policies fail, responsibility diffuses. When citizens protest, legitimacy is questioned. Nowhere is this more visible than in local government disempowerment. Elected representatives exist, but authority does not follow votes. Municipal control remains fragmented, overridden, or suspended through administrative arrangements that centralize power while decentralizing blame. This is governance without ownership. Karachi is policed by a provincial force whose deployment numbers are publicly discussed, but whose composition is not. Tens of thousands of officers serve in Karachi, yet there is no public record showing how many are Karachi domiciled, how many are stationed temporarily, and how many cycle in and out on rotation. When limited audits surface, they reveal irregularities, cases of questionable domiciles, recruitment inconsistencies, and weak verification processes. These findings are acknowledged briefly, then buried. No comprehensive review follows. The result is a police force perceived as external, present, but not embedded. This perception matters, because when law enforcement is not socially rooted, trust erodes. Cooperation declines. Intelligence weakens. And public safety becomes transactional rather than communal. On weekends and holidays, Karachi slows, not by choice, but by absence. Emergency response degrades. Traffic infrastructure falters. Government hospitals thin out. The explanation, repeatedly offered even by officials, is that staff leave the city. This is not a rumor. It is an admission. A city that shuts down on weekends is not being governed. It is being supervised. And supervision is not the same as stewardship. For nearly 17 years, Karachi has lived under an extraordinary security arrangement. Pakistan Rangers, initially deployed as a temporary stabilizing force, became a permanent fixture. Their mandate expanded. Their presence normalized. Their cost increased. Yet no single public document answers a basic question. How much has Karachi paid for this security experiment? What is known comes from fragments. Provincial budgets show that in recent years alone, over 6 billion rupees annually are allocated by Sindh to support Rangers operations. Earlier federal statements indicate annual spending in the range of 9 to 11 billion rupees during peak deployment years. These figures do not include federal overheads, equipment procurement, pensions, or indirect costs. Using conservative calculations, it is reasonable to conclude that well over 100 billion rupees has been spent over 17 years, without a consolidated public audit, without outcome benchmarks, and without a sunset clause. Security became permanent. Evaluation did not. What did this spending achieve? Violence patterns shifted but did not disappear. Crime adapted. Street crime surged. Emergency services remained dysfunctional. Infrastructure decay continues. Governance capacity did not improve in proportion to security expenditure. Meanwhile, when the state falters, civil society intervenes. Karachi-based welfare organizations, EDI, Chipa, Aman, provide emergency response not because they are funded, but because they are rooted. They respond faster because they belong. This contrast is devastating. Fire brigades operate with obsolete equipment. Firefighters work with courage, not resources. When upgrades arrive, they often do so through federal intervention, not provincial planning. And still, blame is deflected. Political narratives are recycled. Disproven allegations resurface. Accusations persist even after retractions. The goal is not truth, it is deflection. Because as long as the conversation stays political, the administrative question remains unasked. Who decides for Karachi? Who pays for failure? Who benefits from opacity? There is no demand here for special treatment. There is a demand for normal governance. Until that happens, Karachi will remain a city that funds the state but does not control its future. And silencing those who ask why will not change the answer. For nearly 17 years, Karachi has remained under extraordinary security arrangements. Billions of rupees have been allocated for security operations, yet questions remain unanswered. How much has been spent? What outcomes were measured? And why has no consolidated public audit been released? Long-term security deployment, public expenditure patterns, and the contrast between state-funded security frameworks and Karachi's locally rooted emergency and welfare organizations. It examines why, despite sustained spending, essential services like emergency response and firefighting remain under-resourced. This documentary relies on publicly reported budget figures, parliamentary audit references, and verified media sources. It does not claim criminal intent or assign guilt. Instead, it highlights gaps in transparency and asks why accountability mechanisms remain absent. Please subscribe, like, share, and comments. Hi, I'm Alize, and this is my investigative YouTube channel. Here, you'll find in-depth coverage of current political affairs, major incidents, and critical public issues, along with analysis, recommendations, and constructive advice presented in a responsible and positive way. This channel is not created to insult or target any individual. Our purpose is to question systems, highlight facts, and identify corruption and misgovernance where it exists, always based on available information and journalistic inquiry. We believe that asking the right questions is not negativity, it's accountability. Our mission is simple: to contribute to awareness, transparency, and reform in our beloved Pakistan. If you believe in truth, integrity, and informed dialogue, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with others so more voices can be informed. Stay with us, because knowledge is power and accountability begins with awareness.